And that way, okay, so now we are actually live, and this will actually get recorded. I can save it to my YouTube account.
Fantastic.
So what time is it in New Zealand now?
8 o'clock in the morning, so we've just arrived at work.
Just arrived for school, and you have school today, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
Well, it's going to get noisy here on my side because the rest of the crowd just is streaming back into the hotel from finishing the day.
I saw some of the photos of the empathy interviews and that people were doing.
It was quite a very, very active day between the two different sessions. Sort of the 101 track was for folks who haven't been as much used to design thinking, and then the 201 track was the deep dive group.
And what age group are they teaching? Are they teaching sort of elementary and high school, or are they all mainly high school?
No, it's all K-12. We even had a few administrators. We have one business officer from an independent school, some other administrators, principals, that sort of thing. So quite a combination of teachers and administrators.
And how prevalent is the design thinking across the board? Is it still very sort of the old school, or is it becoming quite a driving force?
Well, I see. Let's see. Is that Karen joining us?
Yeah, that's Karen.
Well, I could kill myself. I didn't bring my earplug to hear you guys better. But so, are you asking, Claire, about design thinking practice in schools?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's right across the board. You know, you have schools like Mount Vernon Presbyterian where this is being hosted, where they really live, eat, and breathe design thinking. But at most schools, this is still pretty on the leading edge.
Morning, Karen.
Good morning, and good morning, Grant. How lovely to meet you.
Good afternoon.
I should say kia ora, kia ora. Yeah, it's lovely. I hope it's lovely and sunny with you. It's pretty chilly here in Wellington. And hi Claire and hi Steve. Nice to see you guys again.
I think you're in your pajamas. I'm disappointed that you're not in your pajamas.
I am fully dressed.
So Karen, you're not obviously working at school today.
Oh no, I work with schools right across New Zealand. I work for Core Education. So my association with Claire and Steve, I mean, I know them as friends, and Claire and I particularly have done lots and lots of work together over the last few years. But the design thinking stuff that you're doing as part of Fuse is something that I do when I work with schools, particularly around developing the work that they're doing with students. So I'm super psyched to be here this morning, and I've been tracking you on Twitter, Grant, and quoting you in various presentations that I've done recently. So yeah, it's really great to be here.
Well, I got the easy job today. I wasn't planning on being here, but I was going to. Here's Megan. She's just showing up, so she's going to join us.
So sorry.
So this is Megan from Mount Vernon.
Morning.
This is Karen here.
Hi, Megan.
Claire and Steve.
Hello.
Hi there.
You all.
Hi, Megan.
And I wish we had an amplifier here, but I don't. It's a little hard to hear. So I was just saying to Claire that, yeah, design thinking, I think here in the States is very much at a nascent age or development level. We have some schools around the country that are starting to dive into it, but the vast majority of schools, this is somewhere between interesting language and completely foreign to the K-12 space. What about there in New Zealand?
Go on, Claire.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's at a fairly similar stage. I would say that the people that are interested in really innovating their practice and moving forward and have a future-focused sort of lens on their practice are definitely starting to dive into it. And people are looking at it more and more. Like we sort of have been running our Hack Your Class series, which has been the blog posts and teachers from around the country joining us. And there was a real interest in design thinking, but also a nervousness from people as well.
a lot of people that were really interested and want to get started with it, but really there's not many schools that have gone as far with it as what some of the schools in the States, like Mount Vernon and Co, have so far.
Mm. What would be your perception, Karen? Because you're ducking in and out a bit more around the place.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, the conversations that you guys have had up at Hobsonville are probably some of the examples of being further down the track. Where I've seen people use it, they are dabbling in it occasionally, particularly with students around, you know, inquiry, trying to look at ways to hand some of the agency over to students. But it's few and far between, and I think there's some, I think it'd be fair to say there's some skepticism around it, in that people see it as like a methodology that's been adopted from business, and they're making the link between the methodology of design and actually what is seen as, you know, effective for students and or effective for teachers in their own learning. People not necessarily making a clear link yet. So I'd say it's pretty nascent down here as well, Grant.
Yeah, and I'd say in the work I've been doing, you know, I really haven't focused on the strict definition of design thinking, but all of the work that I'm doing with schools is born out of that genre. And I know, Steve, I know you've read my book, The Falconer. You know, I don't see any difference between that kind of thinking and what's called design thinking. And so
yeah.
I just call it great thinking with a lot of Post-it notes. And so with
that's me.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of organization and leadership development and changing the organizations, it's just a process of going through a better problem-solving process. And I don't really focus on the classic sort of D-school design thinking element at all. It's more the mindset and the elements, the arrows in the quiver.
I think we've also found more and more that we're not necessarily interested in the strict definition. Yeah. It's more about developing a design thinking disposition in our teachers and in our students. So sort of learning from it. And I mean, we've found the way to make it fly here is, I know you're familiar with the work that Steve and the team that he's in at our school, where we've it has been part of what we've used to develop our learning design model and the language for learning that we use with our students. But it's, as you say, it's not the strict sort of D-school definition and resources rolled out in front of them. It's more, here's, you know, some great thinking models, here's our New Zealand curriculum, and making it work very much in our context and using our language.
And the students have picked up on that pretty well. Like they're quite aware that, we're in a real generation stage here, and so they get the point of what we're trying to do is generate lots of ideas right now, and then we can refine it later, and they're sort of starting to get hold of that now. And I mean, we're only 2 terms into it, so they've cottoned onto it much quicker than what some of us teachers have.
Yeah, but we've got a heck of a lot more sort of changing of old mental models to do than our students have. You know, our students are coming in, and we're working from scratch.
You guys are at what grade levels at Hobsonville Point?
Hobsonville Point. We're year 9 to 13, so the last 5 years of high school.
So what Megan's doing is taking basically an honors group and really putting them through the serious part. So you guys really should collaborate going forward as her cohort starts up. The students would love to resonate with each other, I bet.
So, Megan, can you give us a bit of a rundown of your program?
Yep, so we're launching it. Well, we've already launched it, but the students will actually start in August. And the idea behind it is, I guess there's a couple different pieces to it. One is, I guess the whole umbrella falls under nurturing innovators. Like, how can we make sure that all of the students that are going through this program understand how to be good question askers, how to be good problem finders, problem solvers. And I don't think that there's one really prescribed way to get there, but some of the ways that I've been thinking about it are having one project really focus on something that they're really passionate and excited about, and then having some sort of other kind of, I guess, complementary idea that a facilitator might throw at them. Like, for example, like, let's just, kind of similar to what you guys recently did, I followed one of your blog posts about the what's going on in the community and trying to find some sort of problem. And understanding that that sort of problem solving and their passion can intersect. So I guess that to me, like, the sweet spot is finding that intersection, like finding out that you can engage with the community, find problems in the community, and you can also capitalize on some sort of strength, passion, excitement for you. And I think it also takes things that have been traditionally outside the classroom, the passions that don't necessarily come out in school as we see it. I think that that's where the home will be Innovation Diploma. That will be the time where we can try to figure out how to pull in all those different passions that I don't think students have been allowed, if you will, to bring into the classroom.
Yeah. I think that's a huge strength, and I think hearing you describe what you're doing there, Megan, and thinking about conversations that I know Claire and Steve, I've had conversations with you about trying to design a curriculum that allows for choice. We've had lots of conversations recently around universal design for learning. I think you guys are increasingly familiar with that idea over in the States, but designing learning that allows for student choice and allows for differentiation of media and learning pathways and outcome. That there's a really nice, are you finding that a really nice dovetail between the way you can approach design thinking with students and being able to offer a more personalized learning experience? Have you found that, Megan?
I don't know that I fully heard the question. Got a lot of background noise. Did you hear that?
Well, that ability to sort of get that differentiated learning through multiple sources of research and connections.
Yeah, I mean, even though I said that, August is when we're launching this program, the kids, 6 of the students that are going to be involved in this have already, they're attendees at Fuse, and so they're already exploring that idea of what does it mean to have a student-centered classroom, and even just listening to them kind of walk through what they think a student-led classroom is, what they think a student-centered classroom is, in my mind is not quite as far as I would like them to be yet. I mean, they're still at the, well, I really want to be excited about what I'm learning, and I really want what the teacher is going to be telling me to be exciting. And I'm like, but you're missing that there's this whole other piece of you, that you can actually be the driver, and that you can take And I hear from them that they want to, but they're not ready yet. So I think that that's kind of, at least that's where I feel like I have to meet them, which is where the falconer and all that comes in.
I think for us as well, one of the things we're really interested in exploring is the idea that it's and, so that student-centered learning isn't about a selfish, me approach. It's about tapping into the interests and the strengths and the passions of the students and looking outward and having that empathy for others and realizing that they can affect change that's going to have a positive outcome for other people. It's not about, people often, I think, misinterpret student-centered learning or students being the drivers of the learning as us just pandering to the students and what they want to do. And for us, it's got to be an and. It's got to be, we want to put this into a context that's relevant to you, and we want this to, draw out your strengths, but it's also got to be looking outwards as well. It's got to be looking at how they can make our community better for others or experiences better for other people. So I think for us, that design thinking, that empathy that comes through in that design thinking model is the really big departure from traditional inquiry. Like, I think traditional inquiry never necessarily demanded students to look outwards and to think about how they could improve things for other people, whereas, once you bring design thinking into that inquiry model, yes, it's about rapid prototyping and testing, but it's also about innately having empathy for others. So it's a bit of an and model.
And our recent one, sort of where the students have been out in the community, the different groups have kind of all chosen things where they're showing their strengths. So the kids that are really into kind of website design and that side of things have been able to take that route, while like one of our boys that was in the Christchurch earthquakes a couple of years ago have...
Are we moving?
maybe I'm going to see if there's a quieter spot.
It is so loud here. We're both like craning to try to hear you guys. But one of the things that you guys are making me think about is a graphic that I put up when we launched this program. It's a the 3 circles that sort of kind of overlap, and one of
time out.
time out. We're moving.
Okay. Are you feeling seasick yet, Claire?
Yeah, it's like, woo!
How are you both? Are you good, by the way? Where are we now?
We should have come in here before. Sorry.
This feels far more intimate.
In a conference room.
Fantastic. Oh, that's better.
But what I was saying before was what you're talking about reminds me of the graphic that I had put up at the inaugural conception of the Innovation Diploma. It's 3 circles, and they overlap. And one of the circles is, what am I excited about? What are my passions? One of the circles is, what does the world need? And another one of those circles is, what is possible? And where those 3 meet, I feel like that's what Innovation Diploma, and that's what I see as the, foundation of the entire program.
Yeah, no, I think that's incredibly powerful. And I remember, Steve, you've been writing recently about how having that kind of drive towards social action, that there's a kind of an ethical, moral imperative behind genuine inquiry that has design thinking at the heart. I mean, that's hugely powerful, and I think it adds a motivational aspect to what the students are doing. So you would be thinking that day.
Can I ask, Steve and Claire, you're a public school. Are you what we would call in the States a neighborhood school, so the students are required to go to your school, or do they have a choice about which school to attend?
Our students all have a choice about where they go to school, but we do have zones, and so for at least the first 2 years of our school opening, we can only accept students who live inside our zone. So we cannot take students from the wider community. After that, they have what's called a ballot. So students can apply to go to any school, but if they don't live in zone, they have to go through a balloting process where they put in an application, and to a greater or lesser degree, it's luck of the draw where they actually get into it. There are some conditions that make you more likely to get into an out-of-zone school, but for the most part, our state schools, if you live in that zone, you can just turn up and attend. If you live out of zone and want to go to that school, you're more than welcome to apply, but you don't necessarily know if you're going to get in. There's limited spaces for out-of-zone students. So we certainly can't rest on our laurels and just presume people are going to turn up to our school, because actually our area that we've been established.
So I guess, but vice versa, you're doing things differently than other schools. So are you seeing a high demand amongst the parents to get their kids in because of what you're doing, so and therefore an acceptance of what you're doing differently?
Both. on one hand, the thing with sort of doing things that are innovative is that there's definitely a certain part of the population that's incredibly excited about what we do, and then there's a whole lot of others that are nervous about what we're doing, and this idea that it hasn't got proven outcomes. There's some that even think that we might be using their kids as guinea pigs for wild new strategies and ideas. And so we've worked very hard to engage and educate our community around our curriculum design, and they were a big part of co-constructing our curriculum with us last year, because we were aware that we were going to have to work very hard to ensure that they were confident that what we were doing was embedded in rigorous research, and it was evidence-based curriculum design, and not just a crazy bunch of lefties doing new stuff. Nothing wrong with crazy lefties. We're good.
Well, it sounds like, and I know, we've got another hangout scheduled. What's that? Next week, Steve, I think, with Bo and Thomas Steele Malley, who's just taken on the job of Director of Innovation at the New Gems Academy School in Chicago. I don't know if are you familiar with Gems Academy? It's an international group of schools.
I am. Yes.
Do they take kids out of your schools?
Not yet. Not yet.
Well, Thomas is a great thinker as well, so I'm sure we'll go over a lot of these same questions. What else can we answer about what's going on here at Fuse today for you guys?
Well, for me, I'm really interested in, because it's I do a lot of, like Karen does, I do a lot of work nationally, trying to really push the future focused lens being something that's cast across everything we do in education in New Zealand. And where I get the pushback is the fear that innovation does not equate to improvement and improvement of student achievement. And how are you winning that battle about that? Actually for me, innovation should be an integral part of improvement. We can't keep looking backwards at the longitudinal studies of what's been proven to work for the last 30 years, because where are we going to develop the skills that these young people need? We need innovators, we need creative thinkers, we need problem solvers, and we need fresh thinking. And if we're going to do that, we need to change practice, but we need to encourage people to see that innovation can sit alongside raising achievement.
Yeah, and I would just before you answer that, I would concur, Claire, that there's that whole kind of, you're just mucking about with this trendy idea, and where's the solid evidence behind it, and where's the curriculum deep inside it? And you're absolutely right. I mean, are you finding that same kind of challenge over there, Grant and Megan?
Of course we are. I think the answer lies somewhere in this, and I can say this with some degree of authority. I'm just in the middle of writing an article. I think you've probably seen my claim that I have over 2,000 Post-it notes that ask the question, what if, on it, and I've finally synthesized that. And we've also done this with parent groups, with the Design 39 campus in Poway. The fact of the matter is, when you ask people, rather than asking them, do you want a traditional school or an innovative school, if you ask them, what does great learning look like, or what were your peak learning experiences when you were a child, or any of those things, not everybody, but a majority, and I would even say a significant majority of people agree at about an 80% level of what that is. And if we approach it that way, and as you said a minute ago, if you allow that to come up out of your community, innovation in and of itself is not the goal. Change is not the goal. We have learning outcomes that we want to achieve, and I think if you start with that, of getting people to really dig deeply, and through the design thinking process, again, whether you call it design thinking or not doesn't matter, but through that generative process of identifying, surveying, unpacking, understanding worldview, all those things, I think there is a higher degree of agreement about what that looks like than we might have thought, and then we can backward engineer to get to the solution once everybody's actually agreed that, yeah, this is the outcome we're looking for. So that's the way I've been approaching it at the schools and districts I've been working with, and it seems like it gets us there.
And that fits with the Warren Berger sort of thing as well that you put me on to, Grant, that I'm sort of most of the way through reading now, with his series of starting with the why and then moving to the what if and the how, once you've moved through those steps first.
I think one of my questions is that I find it doable on a community level. Like we've got the relationship with the community. I feel like we're able to move forward and we're able to do this. When you're dealing at a national educational policy level, it seems a hell of a lot harder. When you're trying to affect change and a change of
country isn't the size of one of our
and there's definitely pockets.
Yeah. I know, Claire. What are we complaining about?
You guys have more sheep than people. We understand you have more sheep than people. So yeah, what are you complaining about? No, I don't believe that. There's nothing here at all close to a consensus at a larger level. In fact, one of the things I've been telling people is I believe that in the United States there are probably 1% of people who are actively practicing this kind of education. There's another 20% who really get it and want to get there but don't know how, and the other 79% you might as well be speaking Martian to them on a national level.
You do hit a good point. I mean, what we have realized is, the reach that, I've had in my work working around the country, the reach that Karen has in the work that when she works around the country, and, Steve's profile online, we actually can achieve a pretty good ground-up sort of saturation of our thinking. And I guess what I'm increasingly realize, that's the way to go. Do the real sort of ground-up.
If we shout loud enough, Claire.
I'm quite loud. That's quite useful. But the actual sort of having that +1 approach where each of us are, reaching out to another one and growing our networks of influence and actually doing a ground-up movement. I mean, at least when you're talking about the population of New Zealand and the number of schools, between us, we actually have a fairly good coverage. It would be nice to get some, policy backing. I want it all.
I do think we're really lucky here, and I think we've got you've probably got slightly more challenges over in the States, because we do have that huge flexibility. And look, Steve and Claire, you'll have been able to play in this space massively at Hobsonville. That flexibility that we've got around defining how you can explore the curriculum, and the curriculum also gives massive mandate to reach out and be part of the community and to take a kind of ethical, social, justice-oriented drive to learning. It's just a case of everyone else realizing that there is space to do that kind of thinking in the curriculum, and to go like that. What you're talking about, Claire, it's kind of permission to go broad, permission to explore these pathways, and we've got a curriculum that mandates that. It's just like you say, it's people being brave and innovative and seeing where they could take it. So we're lucky in that respect. I suspect that you're slightly more constrained perhaps over in the States, perhaps.
Well, yes and no, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to connect with you guys. And I mean, I threw out this thing sort of tongue-in-cheek about a Pacific Rim collaboration. Now, Atlanta here is not on the Pacific Rim, but we'll let them in anyway. I do think that there are real opportunities and strengths for us to share successes. When I went out on my trip around the country and visited schools all over, everybody said, well, Grant, private schools and public schools have got completely different issues, and rich and poor and all that sort of thing. And I said, you know what, let's look for the common elements of what's working across all of these educational disciplines, because now we've got online schools and hybrid schools and charters and magnets and choice, and it's all across the board, the different opportunities. And so I think what we can best do is strengthen these ties of what works, and then allow schools, organizations on all ends to grab that, and I'm going to use this because it works for me. I'll try that, rather than continue to reinvent the wheel. And I think there's real things you're doing there at your school, Claire and Steve, that I know that will resonate deeply with Megan's school, with the public schools that I'm working with in California, because they work.
Well, that's what I think is so great about Fuse and conferences that are like that, where you're actually doing work. You're bringing some sort of problem, or you're discovering some sort of problem that exists within your school, because when you look around and you really get to the heart of what actually is going on, it's the same stuff. I mean, I'm a coach for Fuse, so I was able to walk around table to table and listen to a lot of conversations, and each conversation, like the heart of it, fell back to, I mean, it was all about relationships, and how do you establish a relationship with somebody in order to get to know them and they feel valued. I mean, that's what at the heart of every single conversation was. And if we can get there, I mean, we're all trying to get to that same place, so why not, all work together and try to learn something from each other. And I think that's kind of what the feeling behind Fuse is. We're all in the same room, we're working toward these seemingly different problems, but they're actually really, I mean, we all want the same thing for our students. So we're really working together on a problem at just a bunch of different angles. And if I love that Grant is here and tweeting about it and writing about it and blogging about it, because all of those little tiny pieces and ideas can come together to make something pretty awesome that a lot of people can use all across the country and other countries.
So next year we'll have a satellite Fuse.
That would be a great idea. I was just thinking that there would surely be, the time would surely be ripe to do some kind of, joint global initiative. That would be a great idea, guys.
Well, we were going to suggest that, and then Claire's technology didn't work on her computer, and we had to. Hey, look, you guys, we have to go off to an event downtown with the conference, but I really appreciate you guys probably getting up a little bit earlier, taking time away to talk with us and finally make a face-to-face connection after all of our connections.
Oh, it's been great.
We can continue to have this.
Losing the connection.
People hang out, or I think we're all trying to.
Okay, I will say something now, and then that will finish up. I'll just say thank you very much for inviting me, and just great to have made the connection as well. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your sessions this week, and I'll keep following the blog posts, Grant. And I can also see a real opportunity here around the Connected Educator Month that's coming up in the US in October, and also down here in New Zealand. There might be a connect that we could get going here with Claire and Steve as well. So hopefully this is the beginning of some really, really neat connections between us all.
Keep us in mind.
Yeah.
Cheers. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's been a really neat opportunity, and for us, we really hope that this is the first of many conversations that we can capture, and the beginning of a network that we can develop for mutually beneficial means for our people and both ways.
For us, and then also, of course, for our students, possibly starting to talk to yours, Megan, as well.
Mm.
Definitely.
Well, good. Well, thanks so much, and Steve, we'll talk to you, I guess, next week or so.
Great. See you then.
Thanks.
Have a great day. See ya. Bye.